Hey guys, Ed here from Water Pilot Studios. Today I've got excited to release my first long form video. It's going to be on a little conversion that I've been thinking about doing for a while on my Grandmaster. So I'm going to be looking at some Warp Bane Task Force, which is going to be awesome. There's a little enhancement in there for a guy called Radiant Champions, does a bunch of mortals, Crown Grandmaster. So I'm going to be converting him up and showing you how I do it. Let's get into it, guys. So guys, let's get started. Today we're going to be looking at Grandmaster in Terminator armor. So this is going to be from the Leviathan kit. This is basically just the captain in Terminator armor. So I'm just going to start off clipping him off the sprues. Don't have to be too delicate with this. We're going to be cleaning up parts afterwards anyway. This is one from an old kit that I had in the shed. You probably noticed at some stage there's some gold pigment powder in some of the recesses, just because I spilled some. Then yeah, just clip everything out, get all the leg pads out and all that sort of thing. We're going to be making some modifications to the chest area, so just bear that in mind. We've got a Grey Knight sprue next. We're going to be clipping off whatever that thing is. We love this thing. It's going to look cool on his back, so we're going to clip that out and clip out some of the bits as well. So next up, we're going to be looking at a cloak. So I found this cool little cloak on the Terminator kit. It will not fit, but we will make it fit, so it will be fine. So we're just clipping that out, trying to be as careful as possible to make sure we don't damage the cloak itself. Next, we're just going to clip out some purity seals from the same sprue. This is just a sprue that I found in my shed, but any purity seals will do here. Just clip them out and put them to one side. Next is the shoulder pads. As you see, the shoulder pads that we've got from the captain are quite big, but we want to be using the Grey Knight shoulder pads instead, but this scale isn't too far off. So I'm going to clip out some of these shoulder pads. There's obviously one for each shoulder pad, but there's a left hand one and a right hand one. Make sure you clip out the right one, or else your dangling details are going to be facing the wrong way. And then just dry fit them to make sure they fit. Some of these might need some trimming, like this one here. You see I'm forcing that on, so it will need some shaving down. And here, this one, you see the little nugget that's poking out of this shoulder pad there. That will need to be trimmed off for this to fit on properly. As you see, it doesn't quite fit in naturally. So just shave that down and you'll be fine. Next is to clean up all the parts individually. So it's going around. I'm going to go around with a pretty dull blade and just go around and take off all of the bits of sprue that might be left on there. There's some of that gold pigment I was talking to you about, and any of the spare sprue that is still maintained. And yeah, I see lots of gold pigment powder in there. And now this detail on top I'm going to remove and replace it with that cool bit that we found earlier. So I'm going to clip that off. But when you clip this off, you need to make sure that you clean up the area that you clipped off. So just make sure you go over it again. Now this will sit naturally not flat, it will sit at a weird angle, because that does sit at a weird angle. As you can see, this will lean forward, like top heavy, if you don't do this properly. So just make sure you get your blade and make sure that's flat. Next, we're going to drill out the bolter barrels, because we have to, right? So I've just got a small drill bit here. I think it's 3mm, just to go straight through. And just be careful and methodical. This obviously is the easy bit because it just lines up perfectly for you, so you just have to make sure you keep it lined up and you're okay. The other one I would recommend just doing the pilot hole first and then making it all the way through. So Aquillas, no go. We don't want Aquillas on our Grey Knights. So this is going to be a pretty careful process, and this does take a while, but bear with. So what we're going to be doing is trimming this down bit by bit. So you're going to be getting the blade and just slowly but surely taking off less than you need to each time. Rather take off less than more. You can take off more, you can't put the stuff back on. So just go around, trim it bit by bit, bring this down and basically scrape the detail off. Now again, you do want to take your time here. Mistakes can make pretty big rents in either the area that you're looking at on top. And when you've got the majority off, just get a little sanding stick. You can get these to really fine to get a really smooth finish on this, but ultimately once you've filed this down, it'll be okay. And after that, just clean up. You're going to have lots of bits everywhere, so put your model bits of the model to one side. Make sure you don't lose any, and wipe down. Next, we're going to be drilling the other bolt to cut back barrel out, nice and easy. Exact same process, following the hole that's already there made for us. And this is going to be a bit of a better example to drill the barrel down the end as well. So just drill all the way through, nice and easy. And just make sure you don't jerk a weird angle at the way you've just drilled through, or else it's going to damage that hole and it'll leave a little bit of damage there. If that's what you're into though, however, just go for it, you'll be fine. So yep, that hole's gone all the way through there, you're all good. And yeah. And now I'm going to drill the pilot hole in front. So this is, once again, I normally just use my finger and thumb to line this up and just aim for a little pilot hole, and then as soon as it's lined up nicely, drill all the way through. This will not take much because you've already got a hole behind it, so don't go with your full might here. Just let the drill do the work and just go through into the drill barrel, and it'll eventually just drill through like so. Okay, now to line things up. So we have our head glued on. We're going to put the head and the mid-torso parts together. So you can put a bit of glue there and put it together. Make sure this is fits nicely. So I always try to do a dry fit first before we put it together, just in case there's any like sprue that I might miss that might be on a piece somewhere that makes it awkward to go together. And then we glue the backpack part on as well, covering up all that lovely gold pigment, unfortunately, but we will live. And yeah, so that's the big bit together. That's the band starting to look correct. Next, we're going to put on these shim pads. This is nice and easy. I'm sure there's lots of people who've built lots of these. I did remove the terminus on one of the legs here, just because I didn't think it looked quite right with the grey knight aesthetic, with the one that I'm going for, and also it gives you some more area to try and do some more texture from the NMM. So all I did was the exact same process as the Aquila, and then you're fine. Here we are going to be gluing our shoulder pads on. So this goes off camera for a little bit, or for a second, so I apologise, but literally all we're doing is putting glue on after we've trimmed down those details, and then we're going to be putting the shoulder pad on, and it'll line up nicely as soon as you make sure you do a dry fit first to make sure it lines up, and then you just pull off the camera, let it dry, and we go on to our next one. And this is when it was finished. There was a little gap in between the shoulder pad there, so I just put a nice little skull there, a little demon skull, because I think it'll look cool. Glue on the arm there. Obviously you won't have the pilot holes from the arms because you're going to be clipping those because you don't have the shoulder pad. So just be careful with this. Glue it on, make sure it's sturdy. Move on to the next one. Next, by the way, I clipped off the existing tabard thing that you had on because I wanted the grey knight one. But obviously there's going to be lots of bits left over here, so there's going to be quite a bit of work to make this fit. So you have to remove the part underneath the little skull on his belt first, and then trim that away piece by piece. And then you want to trim this away with a knife on the left hand side, and then eventually that will fit. But you just have to be very methodical with this, try not to damage anything, just take off less than you need to each time, and just go back and forth and back and forth. There will be a gap, but we will fix that later. As you see, there's a nice big bulging gap for his cloak there, but that is the majority done. We've glued on the piece on the top as well, and we've just found a spare base from the garage, because we're not going to be putting him on the Terminator size base, unfortunately, because that is not what the Grandmaster is on, and I will be using this in a tournament. So then we're going to be putting on a couple of little purity seals. Now I put these on a bit too high originally, which made them look a bit weird. They just looked wrong. Not sure why. I'm sure some of you will have some funny comments for that. But ultimately, when I glued these on, I was like, okay, this looks cool. We'd eventually brought them down a smidge just to make it, look a little bit more natural. So as you can see, I'm just putting the second one on. This only needs a tiny little bit of glue. You don't want to overload the smooth area that you've worked so hard to achieve on this, where the Aquila used to be. So yeah, so once that's on, you're all good. And yeah, obviously I brought them down a smidge from where they are, and as you can see, that looks a lot better as soon as you bring it down to just above the belt area. And yeah, now that we're in the point where model is finished, model is finished, you just need to fill in gaps now. But first of all, I'm going to be doing his little candles, I believe. So his little candles are going to go on next. This is from Greenstuff World. It's literally just resin candles. This works perfectly for the scale that we're working to. I'm going to be using this a short, fat one and a long, thin one. And I'll vary it up a little bit because you don't want to make these two. You don't want to use the same one every single time because it's going to look a little bit weird. But yeah, so I clip out 3 at first just to try and get a gauge to the exact one I want to use. But when you clip these out, there will be quite a lot of fray on the area underneath because it literally the sprue these come on are almost the same diameter as the actual candle themselves. So it will take a bit of cleanup. I do use my sanding stick on some of these to make sure that it goes on nice and smooth. And once you've clipped them out, you can just line them up, dry fit them, have a experiment each way with whichever candles you want to do. I eventually settle on I believe the one that's in my hand right now, and another one, just to vary the sizes of the candles up a little bit. And yeah, so once you've got these candles out, we're going to be looking at the next step of the process, which is to glue them on. So we're going to use a little bit of super glue, tap it on the back. I use the little vent duct that's on his back to sort of secure it in place, because it's also somewhere that we're going to be sculpting some wax to be running down as well. And then along the thing, once you can see, I'm very much debating where this is going to go, and it's going to go where it always should have gone, which is on his back, right next to the other candle. So candles are attached. At this point, this model is almost done. I'm going to be doing the Milliput next. So this is literally a tiny little blob of Milliput each. You're mixing this up. Make sure you mix this up thoroughly. Now, if you don't mix this up thoroughly, it's going to be in a situation where it's not going to set correctly. I like to get the Milliput with the 2 different colors, so you can definitely tell when these are done. Then just start off small, grab a little bit of the Milliput, put it on. I start off with a blade just to like push it into the recesses and stuff. And you don't want to be using the blade to actually sculpt this, because it's going to be making lots of little thin lines, and that's not what we really want from it, what we really want to achieve. But once we've shoved it all into the areas that we want to fill in, then we're going to be coming in with our blade again, just to trim out the areas that we want to have as a recess. As you can see there, I'm just like sort of pushing it away from the recesses that we want to maintain, and then cutting it away. But when we actually want to maintain a smooth finish, I'd recommend picking up some silica tools here if you do a lot of sculpting. I do not do a lot of sculpting, I literally just fill in gaps. But I normally just use a blunt instrument that I can find nearby. So as you can see, I'm using an end of a paintbrush here with a bit of water on. So this is just going to smooth it out and get rid of all those jagged little lines that the blade left for us. And then if it goes into recess too much again, you can just pick up the blade again, trim it away, pick up the brush again, and keep going back and forth. Now this may come loose at some stage, and the chain, like where the actual cloak came on, because it came on loose for me, so you may need to secure the area again with some super glue. But yeah, once it's done, that's what it looks like. So, and then after that, we're going to be doing the last little bit of sculpting on this model, which is going to be the wax on the candles. But I seem to be playing around with it a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. So I was pushing this back into place just to make sure we're securing it. So a little bit of super glue to make sure this stays in place. And yeah, once that's in place, then we can start working on the wax. So I'm going to be using little off like trimmings and just putting them on, and using the blade to sort of string it away and make it look like wax. This is probably some of the easiest sculpting you'll ever do. This is mainly to fill in the gap where the wax sort of builds up around the candle, because this is actually going to help sell this effect that the candles are actually there. This is only a quick. This is nice and quick as well. It's not a lot of time for quite a lot of reward in terms of the way the model will look here, because it will actually give you a 3-dimensional look of this wax running down. Now, if you are doing this over lots of models, which to be fair, Grandmaster don't have many normally, but if you do have lots of models, then there is an argument here that you could just freehand this, like just paint some wax coming down. But I think the 3D aspect of this really does sell the effect. And if you want to put on tiny little bits, I just use the blade to cut off some with a wet blade, then put it on and then just push it into the gaps where the little candle is, and try to make this wax sort of settle around where the other candles are together, because if you ever have 2 candles next to each other, the wax just sort of melds and melts together, because that's just how candles work. So yeah, once we've got these 2 things, we don't want to drip all the way down the vents though, because that would look weird. So next we're going to get some Milliput. We're going to use a Greenstuff Roller today. So we're going to get lots of Milliput on here, and then just push it around, spread it out, make sure it's all even. And yeah, then we're going to wet up the roller, then we're going to wet up the surface. And if you have never used one of these before, I imagine I'm trying to teach how to suck eggs, but even pressure from back to the front, roll it round, and you'll achieve some great details. Now the one that I use here is like the church one. I believe it's like the Santic one it's called. And then if you have any little gaps like that, you can just fill them in, but obviously you should just put enough on originally that this doesn't happen. I think I was just being a little bit lazy. But effectively once you've got this done, that's what it looked like, and then you have to trim it round. I glued a little candle onto the base as well, just to tie it up with the model, and then you glue them on, and this is how he looks. And yeah, so this is how the model looks in the end. They've got some candles. Thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, I'll see you at the next one. The next one we're going to be painting him, so thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you at the next one, guys. Much love. Bye bye. And there we have it, guys. Here he is in all of his glory. I'm quite happy with him in the end. He's ended up looking pretty dope, I feel. I've got the gun barrels done. He's got a cool little church base. He's got candles on there. It's all very occult and maybe even grimdark if you want to look at it that way. But yeah, so I like the new Terminator Captain. I think it works really well as a Grandmaster. I don't know if I mentioned on the video, but I've got rid of his hair on the head as well. I trimmed it away and shaved it down, just so that he's also bald. So yeah, I'm excited to get this guy painted up. That'll be another video. But let me know in the comments below if you want to see any more conversions and stuff like this. That'd be awesome. And if please do give me throw a subscribe, that'd be awesome. We love those. And yeah, I will see you at the next one, guys. Much love. Goodbye.